Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, Anita Finley.
Hello, Darwin.
Good morning to you, Anita, and I want to live up to the promise of starting off with a bang, okay?
Okay, I'll be careful.
Well, I will, but I want to, I know we have just a small amount of time, and I want to share 3 items with you before they go on CNN.
Okay.
And the first is, I like a little scoop every now and then. The first is the fallout from what had been the triumphant visit of Pope Francis to America, a whirlwind tour and a call for bringing people together. But in the aftermath, as you probably already know, the focus was not on his triumph, but his secret meeting with Kim Davis.
Yeah, I thought that was terrible. I absolutely thought that was terrible.
And that was done in great secret. So everyone knows that, but what they don't know is that Kim Davis is now, for those who don't recognize the name, she is the woman who made a name for herself for refusing to grant marriage licenses to same-sex couples. In fact, she refuses to grant them to anybody now, telling them to go into the next county. But that's another story. What happened, though, is in the aftermath, she's being surrounded by agents and the moneymakers. It's very similar to what happened to Sarah Palin when she resigned the governorship of Alaska after John McCain nominated her for vice president. And she became a multimillionaire by taking all these deals. Well, I have just found out that after more or less the Pope's blessing, a company, a publishing house, is going to offer her $750,000 advance for a memoir. Of course, it will be ghostwritten, and they've even photoshopped the picture. There's no selfie of Kim Davis with the Pope, but she's got her hands raised in a hallelujah style. And then another picture, he's extending a blessing to who knows, but it will appear that he's extending a blessing to Kim Davis. And now the speakers bureaus and everything are contracting her for speaking tours, and somewhat similar to, as I said, Sarah Palin. For example, the other night I was flipping on channels. I think on 4 or 5 I got news channels. I got Kim Davis every night. So she will no longer be a struggling county clerk in Kentucky, but she'll probably, I understand she can easily make maybe $3 to $5 million. So
you're making me very upset. You know that.
Well, I know, but it's a very upsetting thing, and I think as you know, I live next door to the largest Catholic church on Staten Island, and mostly liberal Catholics, and they're blaming an archbishop, very right-wing he's to the right of Attila the Hun and Torquemada of the Spanish Inquisition, and he retires in January, but apparently he's a strong advocate against same-sex marriage, and he may have set this thing up with the Pope. And it seems so sad that what had been such a triumph for him was then the front page of the New York Times and everything was a sort of a dark little secret visit. She was driven into the Vatican embassy in Washington in with a limousine in black and windows. So the Pope maybe wasn't too willing to go public with her. But anyway, that's what's happened, and we don't have to worry now about her bank account. She'll be doing just fine as she enjoys her 15 minutes of fame and really profits. It's hard to make some millions today in book publishing and stuff.
I want to just say, Darwin, that I also had felt so wonderful about his coming, and I'm not Catholic and not religious, but
neither am I.
Yeah, I know that. And now that you told me this, and of course I read some of it, and I didn't realize the impact, it really has definitely changed my opinion of the whole thing.
Yes, it has too. I think what you've read, though, I think my scoop are some of these offers that are being made to her. I have not seen that published in the press yet, but it will be in time.
Yes. Well,
now,
all right. Now that you gave me this bad news, what's next?
Well, the last time we talked about a future First Lady, Mrs. Trump, by the way, much of what I said is now going to be appearing in today's New York Times, and it was on Fox News. But I want to continue to stay ahead of them. And you mentioned we were talking about future maybe possible First Ladies, and we were talking a lot about Donald Trump's wife, and you asked about Dr. Carson's wife. I had never paid much attention to her until, at first I didn't think that it would be a serious candidate, but now that I see that Dr. Carson's almost rivaling Donald Trump, suddenly the press will soon be focusing on Candy Carson. Now let me say about Candy Carson. Dr. Carson's wife of 40 years. I know a lot more about her now from the time since we last talked, and I must say that I have nothing but a very, very favorable impression. She is a fine, fine woman. The press, if she becomes First Lady, will probably be very cruel as they are to, because they will be comparing her physical presence to another First Lady who is African American, of course, the very chic wife of Obama, and the comparison would be painful for poor Candy. But she's a very good woman. She is devoted to the right causes, and she was a triple. She's also very intelligent. She was a triple major at Yale University, like music and psychology and pre-med. In fact, she was a former concert violinist, and she devotes herself to very good causes. However, as Carson goes up into the polls, there are some very embarrassing things about to come out. Shall I go into them quickly?
Absolutely. I'm relishing this.
Well, at first he was a radical Democrat, and so they have many, many statements that he made that will, the way that Hillary does, they come. But in 1992, you said, that kind of journalism. But now he seems like such a gentle, kind man, but he has struggled for most of his life with anger management. I'm going to actually quote from him 2 lines. He said, "I had real anger issues. I would just fly off the handle and really become quite irrational and try to hurt people with baseball bats, hammers, whatever. In one case, I took a large camping knife because one of my friends angered me, and I tried to stab him in the stomach with that knife. Well, for a neurosurgeon, he was off the target. Fortunately, this teenage boy that he tried to kill wore one of those large belt buckles like Texas rodeo riders have, and the knife hit the buckle, and obviously didn't kill him because Dr. Carson might be in jail. But then he also said something. I'm surprised he wrote this in this book. He came down ready to go to church, and his mother criticized, I don't know what he was wearing, and he took a hammer and tried to hit her in the head.
And this is in his book?
Yes, and
you are kidding.
He admits he had all these problems, and that Candy, his much more temperate wife, has done a great deal to help him control, because he comes off now really very well modulated, actually sort of soft-spoken, but apparently it was a very difficult struggle for him. I mean, many people have had anger management things, but I mean, I think it was a little much taking a hammer and going after your mother.
Oh, this really is amazing stuff, and you're getting it from his book. What's the title of his book?
And then, yes, but what I'm saying is press people are now going into his background and these stories. If he becomes the serious challenger, this is what you get. Remember, Bill Clinton was an unknown governor from Arkansas, and in 1992 they started digging up all sorts of things.
Yes.
So this is what happened. Harry Truman said, though, if you can't stand the heat, stay out of the kitchen. Also, some of his statements Miss Kelly on Fox News really angered Donald Trump when she asked him questions about calling women pigs and stuff like that. But Mr. Carson, Dr. Carson, has some really tough questions coming his way. I'll give you just two or three. He compared Obama to Adolf Hitler. Well, I would certainly ask him to give the viewers the similarities between Adolf Hitler and Barack Obama. He also, I have this here, he said the United States is the equivalent of Nazi Germany in the 30s and 40s. It is? Hitler launched a war that killed 67 million people. Why are we equivalent? I would like to know why we are the equivalent of Nazi Germany.
Well, I have another question. I would like to know why he's even a candidate, even before you told me what you told me. Where did he come from, and why would he be someone? I can't believe this.
He is appealing to evangelists and others. Another thing, he says Obamacare is the same equivalent of slavery in the in the 19th century. Yeah. It is. It is the equivalent. I mean, he goes on and on. He says homosexuals are equated with pedophiles and practitioners of bestiality. Well, now, that's equating them to, for example, pedophilia. That you can go to jail for that. I mean, I'm surprised that a man who is such a brilliant medical man takes such positions like this. By the way, I don't think his wife, who majored in psychology, I don't think she has these views at all. But I'm just telling you that now that he's going into hot debate, so many of these things are going to come up. And,
Good.
He's going to have to deal with them. Frankly, I was shocked. I'm not shocked very much these days, but I was shocked by, I mean, come on, Nazi Germany.
Yeah, I think the problem is people speak words that they don't even think about, and they just want to get the press, they want to get the media to grab them. That's what's happened, and you can see from Davis what's happened. I mean, she did her thing, and look what's happened. So that's the fallacy of all this.
Well, how to become a millionaire in America today.
Yeah.
Now, we still have time. I also, and these candidates have to expect this. Fortunately, I have some inside connections, so I know what is being prepared for another candidate who is now rising. You know, we're not being political either way on this side, because as far as Hillary goes, she gets it every day. But I'm bringing up these new people because if they rise up, they're going to, shall we say, start getting the Hillary treatment. And now we go to the woman candidate who is rising now in the polls, Carly Fiorina. And she has made strong showings in debate, and her popularity is rising. But there is a counteroffensive team working against her. First, I am also shocked that she went in front of perhaps 25 million people and told certain things that are not true and are easily traceable. I'll give you some examples. The most notorious was when she described this horrible video of this fetus still alive and still breathing, and connected it to Planned Parenthood. Well, there is such a video, and it has been. I don't know if it's made the press yet. A woman admitted it was a video of her child, and her child was a stillborn, and but the woman says she has the video. She held it in her arms and heard the poor thing's heart beat, and then the child died in her arms. Stillborns are born all the time, and it was a heartbreaking story. But this was not a Planned Parenthood video. This was something else entirely. It was just a tragic thing that happened to a woman and didn't have anything to do with abortion. So the moment, which was September 16th, that she did that, at least 200 newspapers ran a story. I don't know if they did in your area. The headline was, what's that? Pants, liar. What's the expression? Help me. Pants, liar on fire. That's it. And I was shocked that she would do that.
Well, I absolutely, I watch the news. I used to watch the news a lot. I have got to turn it off. I can't stand all this anymore. It's lies, deceit. It's just so unhappy for me. And so I try now to just do other kinds of things or get really stupid shows on television, just not to watch all this. It's too disheartening.
Well, but what's amazing me with those in media today, and our show today is how media are, I should say, how media are treating certain subjects, and they have this thing called Pinocchio. And so Miss Fiorina is getting a 5-nose Pinocchio. Now, another thing, and it was a very sympathetic story that she told, but I found out the real story. She told this very, very tragic story of losing a teenage daughter, Lori Ann Fiorino, to drug addiction when she was just a teenager, and the pain that she went through to bury her child. Well, the trouble with that story is she didn't have any child named Lori Anna Fiorino. Her first husband did, and the child was raised by her mother, Patricia Fiorino, and it wasn't Carly's child at all. In fact, I don't. From what I heard, they had very few meetings together. There was because of the breach between her mother and her father. And now the press hound dogs that now are going after, they've located Todd Bartlam. Todd Bartlam was the first husband of Carlo Fiorino, and he absolutely loathed his former wife. He calls her a pathological spin artist, and he said to the press, "I got rid of that liar in my life. You can't have her." And what happened is apparently Carly met Frank Fiorino, and they fell in love, and the wife, Patricia, calls Carly a home wrecker. And she told the press she lied about having a druggy daughter. I had the druggy daughter, and she stole my husband from me. So moving up in the polls now, Miss Fiorino is going to be. There will be exposés and all sorts of stuff about her. She really probably should have been a little bit more careful, because it was on the September 16th speech that most Americans heard of her for the first time. They didn't even know who she was. So she didn't make a great audition. Yet, on the same hand, millions went for her, and her popularity rose. So we do live in a divided country, don't we?
Right, and I think you said something, and I'm thinking about, as you were telling us, what has happened to people who they are outrageous, and then they can make a lot of money, and they get out in the public. Maybe that's what these people do. And now, after this, and when all is said and done, and we have another candidate, and we have an election, those people will be able to ride on the coattails. They'll be famous. They would never have been in the history books if they didn't run.
Exactly. Imagine an obscure person like Kim Davis being figuring into the history of the United States. I mean, it's such a preposterous thing. The one thing, though, that you really almost have to be, as Eisenhower said when they told him to take Nixon off the ticket because they started digging up scandal on him when he ran with Eisenhower in 1952. Eisenhower said, "I want a running mate who is clean as a hound's tooth." I love that. And,
yeah.
Of course, he got Nixon. That maybe that was houndstooth with the decaying teeth. But
no, that's true. But you know, Darwin, they didn't. There was not the investigatory capabilities that there are today. So people didn't know what people really were like today. I mean, they go back to when you're first born.
I totally agree with you. And now, with this 24-hour news cycle, this has become very competitive, and people are out there exposing things. We're about to go off the air.
No, we're fine. We still have we still have about 3 minutes, I think.
Yeah,
but
I know a story that's being worked on right now.
What?
Although Jeb Bush, former governor of Florida, he's just fallen down. He seems to be going down to 4%. I mean, he was a front runner very briefly, but reporters are in Florida now. You may have met one or two. They're digging into some very embarrassing things that, and I think it's going to break her heart. I don't know if you've ever seen his daughter, Noelle, but he has a daughter who has had a lot of issues with drugs and all sorts of problems, and I know that there's an expose coming out about the troubled horror that his daughter has faced. Now, this is going to hurt her very much. I don't think she wants to be splashed over the nation's tabloids, but this is what happens. Even Chelsea Clinton, as a little girl, the papers made fun of her about how brutally ugly and horrible. She grew up into a fine woman, but I know it must be painful for a first daughter to read how ugly she is in the press, and now that Noelle's, she's an overweight woman, and as I said, has a lot of issues, and the stories will be coming out in a few days.
Oh my goodness! Well, yeah. Darwin, I'm sitting here shaking my head. The only thing came to mind, and we don't have time, I guess, is remember the woman named Anita years ago, the orange juice woman. When you were talking about, the same kind of thing. And now she's nowhere. Of course, her name is there somewhere, but she went down the tubes.
She was my brother's girlfriend.
I know you were telling me that, which is really, we'll have to talk about that another time. But Darwin, you are he said, we still have a little time. Okay, we'll get 1 minute, he said. All right, well, I hope that you are having a good weather time. That's more important than anything.
I've been mopping up water since
No kidding. Is that right? Well,
anyway, so did I tell you some juicy stories?
Oh, are you kidding? I can't wait to go home and tell Bill. Oh, you are something. Well, of course, it's scary. What you've told me is scary, and it just makes me shake my head. And I don't know where we're going to be, but let's just watch.
Said, we are now in the age of political destruction.
Yep, that's it. Soon nobody's going to want to run for office.
Right. They'll start digging up everything we tried to hide all these years.
That's right. You and I won't run for office so they can't find out about us.
Have a great day and a great show.
Yeah,
Anita.
You're wonderful. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon. Bye.